Now, there's a filmmaker in our area who's not having any problems. In fact, he hasn't had a problem finding something to eat in our area for years. He's a Philadelphian, so guess what he loves?
Cheesesteak!
That's right.
Yeah, of course they're a part of Philadelphia.
Yes, and now a big part of a film. One local filmmaker tapped into the essence of the cheesesteak in a brand new documentary.
It's a symbol of Philadelphia now, all over the world. You say cheesesteaks, they'll say Philadelphia.
So every time I get one, I pick it up and I eat it, I'm transported back to a time where, for me, everything was just beautiful.
To me, it means comfort food. It means coming back home.
Cheesesteak is Philadelphia.
It's my life.
Wow.
The documentary is This Is My Cheesesteak. It's the story of Philly's classic sandwich. The film debuted this weekend at the Bridge Cinema Deluxe at 40th and Walnut Street as part of the Philadelphia Film Festival.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man who made cheesesteaks his mission, filmmaker Ben Daniels. Thanks for being here.
Great to see you.
You can have a seat. You can move that pillow wherever you want it.
A cheesesteak shirt you've got
Yes,
on
I
here.
know. This is my cheesesteak, my movie.
Now, you're actually a senior at Syracuse.
Yes.
And you said, for my senior project, I've got to make a documentary about the cheesesteak.
Yeah, well, actually, I was debating between a documentary and a fictional film, and the first day of class, my teacher goes, "There's no way you could possibly write any characters that are better than these guys." And I was like, I completely agree.
Now,
So cheesesteak it was.
Your teacher had been here in Philadelphia, or you
No,
just
he just,
shared?
I'd actually made a small sketch last year just called Whiz-Wit between the rivalry between Pat's and Geno's, and he was like, "You gotta go with this."
And you grew up in West Philly, so you've been eating cheesesteaks for...
Sip forever. Literally growing up in Philadelphia, cheesesteaks are literally shoved into you from before you can remember. So, the first one I remember, I was 6 years old.
Did you remember where you had your first one?
I did. My first cheesesteak was the originator. It was at Pat's King of Steaks. It was after a Flyers game when I was 6 with my dad.
Wow. Now, I know that your documentary actually premiered this past Saturday. It was the first time all these guys had been brought together.
It was insanity because that happened the movie started about 10:30, and at 9 o'clock, all these guys came. And standing there doing, one of the last shots for my work in progress, my senior thesis film, I'm standing there, I'm holding my cheesesteak, and I look to my left and I see, Pat's and Geno's, and I look to my right and I see Jim's and Tony Luke's, and I was just like, holy crap, this is really happening.
That's serious.
And, there was no talk of, business or who had the best steak. These guys were just really a pleasure to meet, and, over the next 2 days talking to them, all they said, I've been in this business for 40 years, and that was one of the most memorable moments I've had in the cheesesteak world.
So there was no beef, so to say.
No, there was no beef.
Well, what did you learn that you didn't know about the cheesesteak after making this film?
Oh, man, beyond being really good, I think the most interesting thing I learned was really how it started during the Depression in Philadelphia, and it was birthed out of a lot more family need and necessity to bring family together and really, live in that time. And that was really interesting to learn.
Wow. And do you have you can't say that, can you? You can't say my favorite cheesesteak comes from.
No. And, tons of people ask me that. And, my favorite cheesesteak as far as this movie is I love each one for a different reason.
All right. Now, you had to do a lot of research, I'm assuming. You had to eat a lot of cheesesteaks.
Yes, I eat a lot of cheesesteaks. And me and my girlfriend were actually trying to figure out how many cheesesteaks I had eaten since this process. And let's just say at the end, my doctor made me get my lipids checked.
Oh, no.
We want to check out the film because we have part of the film to look at right here.
Okay, great.
All right, from Ben Daniels, This Is My Cheesesteak.
I'm returning home on a search to find the meaning of the cheesesteak for me and the entire city of Philadelphia. In my home, Philadelphians love their cheesesteaks. We love to eat them. We love to wait in line at night to eat them, talk about them, argue which is more authentic than the other, and of course, who has the best. The cheesesteak is a part of who we are.
Well, I counted at least 6 cheesesteaks in that clip there.
Yeah, that was that was me eating a cheesesteak with all the different owners of all the different shops, and it was a lot of fun to do that and eat as many cheesesteaks as I did, of course.
The cheesesteak is almost like Philadelphia's own sport.
Yeah.
Because each person guards their cheesesteak place.
Yeah.
Like they guard the Eagles or the Flyers.
Yeah, I think what was so interesting was that, at each place, making this documentary, you want someone to sell you whatever you're working on, and each one of these guys completely sells themselves and their product, and really let me into, beyond their steak shop and themselves, but, who they were as people, and that was what kind of made this really a special piece. And I don't think that this film would have been entirely possible at all without the help of my loving parents and support, my mom and dad, and my girlfriend Erica Levine was really there throughout it, and then Colin Bannon really helped me edit the whole thing.
Now, I think this
looks
film
great.
would be a hit in Philadelphia, but how does it play in Syracuse?
Syracuse loves it. Syracuse has a really strong, Philadelphia population. But actually, my cousin from Finland came for the film, and he had never eaten a cheesesteak, had no idea what it was, and someone walking out told me, I talked to your cousin from Finland, and they're like, how could you possibly understand this? You're from Finland, you're not from Philadelphia. He's like. These people are real people. I understand real people. So I think that was kind of nice to know that even across the country, across the waters, it still meant something.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I mean, these are colorful characters.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And that's the thing, it's part of the Philadelphia tradition. I know that just moving here, the first thing people say, how are the cheesesteaks? How are they?
Yeah, and I think that was so great is that each place is very different, and they have very different character, a very different feel, and actually a very different sandwich. They're using different breads, they're using different meats, different assembly lines, and at the end of the day, what made my film special and what made them coming together is that whoever has the best, they all think they do. They all make a cheesesteak, and they all built a part of Philadelphia's identity and really, the institution in Philadelphia together and alone.
So what was their response after this? You had all these guys together screening this documentary. What was their response after?
I was, it's funny. The only people that had seen it were close peers and stuff like that. So I have, a packed 250 people in this movie theater. No one's seen anything. It would have been really awkward at the end if it was bad, and they're walking out like, oh, it was kind of good.
Well, obviously you did a good job. How can people who want to see it in our area check the film out?
Hopefully, I'm a senior, so I have to go back to school and finish my classes and, graduate. And then during the summer and beyond, and hopefully, I had no idea it was ever going to be this big. For me, it was just my senior thesis film, and, it's still a work in progress. But hopefully it's going to be doing more screenings in Philadelphia and film festivals and TV and, DVDs later on. We'll see this. I'd like to think the sky's the limit.
It's hard to believe that picture of all of those guys is the first time they've all gotten together in one place, either for a picture or for anything.
Right, and I think that was what was so great was that, they would, even after the show, a lot of them said to me, they're like, when I started this whole thing, I thought this was just going to be a huge waste of time, and I was, like, all right, whatever, I'll do for this kid. And it was the moment that all of those guys, and we were actually the last one to walk in was Joey Vento of Gino's. We're sitting in the chairs, we're waiting, and he walks and he sits down, and I start to roll the camera, and people start to take pictures, and all of their family members, because this was long before doors open, all of their family members are kind of gathering around the theater and taking pictures of their cell phones and stuff. And, the guys are like, holy crap, like, this is historic. Like, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe this is happening. All of them start to have this great reaction. It was when they started to have this reaction that they started to smile, and, my dad pushed click like Richard Avedon and captured an absolutely beautiful
I love that.
picture.
When you came and shared that with us, we've got to share our own version of the cheesesteak with you. It's a hat.
A cheesesteak
Put
hat?
it on if you want
Okay.
to.
Yes.
Well,
But we just have to say,
Okay.
yeah, doesn't that look good? Doesn't that look
if
good?
you're going to share that with me, I brought you guys this. This is my cheesesteak t-shirt for
love
Bill.
that.
Excellent.
And an Philadelphia West Films t-shirt for you,
Oh,
which is
thank
like my
you so
company.
much.
Thank you so much.
This is
Ben
my
Daniels,
cheesesteak.
good
Thank
luck
you so
with
much.
everything, okay? He told me he's a pleasure
I know.
before the show.
Thank you so
you
much.
for having me on.
We're back with more 10 right after this. Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.